And some of them believe only in the impersonal feature of the Lord. In both cases, there is nothing for them to say of God. Both the non-believers and the impersonalists deny the essence of all topics. Therefore, they engage in topics of relativity in various ways, either in sense gratification or in mental speculation. For the pure devotees like Vidura, the topics of both the mundaners and the mental speculators are useless in all respects. Thus Vidura requested Maitreya to talk of the essence only, the talks of Krishna and nothing else. Tarasya kausharam shanmadapur harekatame vidhasa saram ubicha pushpevi bhartabando shivaya kirtaya kirtite. O Maitreya, O friend of the distressed, the glories of the Supreme Lord can alone do good for people all over the world. Therefore, just as bees collect honey from flowers, kindly describe the essence of all topics, the topics of the Lord. So there are various people in this world who all have different inclinations. Every person within this world is inclined to act in a different way. This is because we have all received bodies in the modes of material nature, which are all different according to different qualities. Some persons born in one country have a different inclination than other persons born in another country. Some persons are female, some persons are male, and this immediately means there are so many other inclinations. Some persons are intelligent, some persons are rather dull. This means different inclinations. Some persons have a particular way of tasting according to their tongues. Other persons have other inclinations according to their tongues. Therefore, everybody's different everywhere. This is a basic principle of material nature. Not only amongst the human beings, but amongst the animals as well. The animals also have different tongues, born of their particular bodies, which are born, of course, of the modes of nature. So all creatures have different inclinations and different characteristics and different qualities. Therefore, this world is full of variety. And in fact, that variety is the mother of enjoyment. The fact that there is a grand variety between all different types of persons and all different types of places is very good. That variety actually brings about some quality in this world which can be variegated enough to enjoy. Otherwise, if everything was all the same, everything would be very dull. If everything's all the same, there would be no inspiration. Nothing new would ever happen. It would just be dull, dull, dull. And there would never be any push forward or a situation whereby you would be inspired in some way or another. Because after all, it would be every day the same thing. Every day, dull, dull, dull. But nobody would like to live in such a circumstance. But because of all these differences, there is this interest. We have some inspiration. Now, all right, so much for the varieties. But there's one thing which is, for all persons, beneficial. And that is hearing of the topics of the Supreme Personality of God. Now, not everybody wants to do that. Some persons don't want to do that. They're not interested in hearing about Krishna. They don't want to know anything about Krishna. Therefore, for them, topics of the Supreme are not very pleasing or beneficial. But actually, everybody is benefited by hearing the topics of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, we go on kirtan in the street, because this will give everybody the chance to hear the holy name of Krishna. And when they hear the holy name of Krishna, they will become benefited. They become very inspired, actually within. Even though they may not know it, they become very inspired. They get this feeling, this inspiration. They get this spiritual push which they didn't have before. And even they don't know what it is. They just feel good the whole day. I remember also first time hearing Hare Krishna Kirtan. The next day, I felt very, very good. The whole day. And couldn't explain why. Didn't know why. Why was it so? But it was just good the whole day. Why? Because this holy name of Krishna brings one a purification, a feeling of transcendental peace, which doesn't exist in the material world. This hearing and chanting about Krishna brings one immediately to a higher platform. Of course, maybe later on, the demoniac mind catches up after having been left in the dust by the turbocharged impact of the Hare Krishna Kirtan. Material mind is left someone over there in the pit, and one just rockets out of it. Then later on, the mind figures out what happened and tries to figure out its way back to the rest of you. And then gradually, again, maybe some problems develop. But again, the only solution to such a miserable condition of life is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's no other solution. One can only find solution in the chanting of the holy name. There's no other solution. So many problems, everywhere problems. Even if you're not experiencing a problem right now, you can see one over there. And you know that that problem and you are going to meet. You know, down there, around the corner, hiding under a table, there's a problem. And I know I'm going to be walking down that road and I'm going to walk by that table and all of a sudden it's going to tackle me. And boom! There it is. It's got a problem. I can see it. And because I can see that problem down there under the table, I understand there's going to be trouble, and that is trouble. Just by knowing there's going to be trouble, I feel trouble. Just by knowing it's going to happen, I'm already upset. Just like you all remember when you were on summer vacation, when you were a child in school. So you knew in 2 weeks the school is going to start again. That was enough to ruin the whole vacation. Because you saw that's going to happen again. Or just like now, here it is, August 4th. So we know soon there's going to be all that stuff, that white stuff falling from the sky, and the cold. It's already changed. Already the days are getting shorter, and then the sun will go away. There wasn't any anyway here for a couple of days. So that's enough to ruin your whole summer. Half the beginning of the summer, you're expecting that it will be good. But as you're halfway through the summer, you realize it's almost done, and it's going to become bad again. So then one is starting to feel bad. It's incredible how this material nature works. Just to always give us some trouble. Therefore, if one really wants good fortune, one has to get it by chanting the holy name of Krishna. It's the only way. You can't get good fortune by material arrangements. This doesn't work. No matter how many arrangements you make, you're not going to get good fortune. It's just not possible. Good fortune doesn't come like that. Good fortune can only come from one who factually has the relationship with Krishna, at least through chanting his name, his glories, his pastimes, and by serving his devotees. In fact, just by serving the devotees of Krishna, all good fortune can come to one. If one satisfies the devotees, one satisfies Krishna. Just like, for instance, if one is cooking, and one is satisfying all the devotees, feel very inspired, they like it very much, they think this is very good. Well, then you can know for sure you're satisfying Krishna. It's not that you can give any old thing to devotees and they all run out holding their mouths, and that this will satisfy Krishna. Because you say, well, I did it with love and devotion. No! If the devotees are satisfied, then factually Krishna was satisfied when he accepted the offering. Because the devotees are satisfied with Krishna's satisfaction. Because when Krishna is satisfied, everybody else is satisfied. So we can see, when everybody's satisfied, then Krishna is also satisfied. Because they're linked. Our satisfaction and Krishna's satisfaction are not independent. They are linked. It is not possible that we will have some independent existence outside of Krishna. We are always connected with Krishna. Like the hand is always connected with the body. Like the twig of the tree is always connected to the tree. There's at no point in time that we're not connected to Krishna. But we're always forgetting it. And how many people woke up this morning and thought of themselves as very small and insignificant? Because we always forget. Forgetfulness is the nature of the soul. Not the soul, sorry. This material body and the material condition. Forgetfulness is not the nature of the soul. The nature of the soul is remembrance, knowledge. But because we are covered by the material body, we forget everything. This dullness comes, especially in this age of Kali. People are very dull. They can't even remember what they were supposed to remember from yesterday. Therefore, Vyasadeva, out of his great compassion for the conditioned souls, wrote down the whole Mahabharata, Panchama Veda, Fifth Veda, filled with very practical things, and other literatures, because he knew people in general will forget everything. And therefore, in order to keep them from forgetting everything, he wrote it all down. Therefore, we also say, write it all down. Whenever you got something you're supposed to remember, write it down. Unfortunately, one forgets to look at the paper. One is so dull, even he writes it all down, he forgets to look at the paper to find out what he's supposed to do. Therefore, one has to always put the papers just right in front of his nose. So he always has to look at the paper. Otherwise, he forgets to look at the paper. It's the nature of conditioned souls. Is forget everything. Or as some famous personalities used to say, you'd forget your head if it wasn't attached to your shoulders. Because the mind is always off somewhere else, flying around the universe, to this side, to that side, to this place, to that place. Mind is just enjoying the freedom of mental speculation. In whatever way it can, it just speculates something and makes trouble. Just like, the story of the monkey and the log. The monkey pulled out the wedge in the log that the forester had put in and got himself caught in there and was killed. Similarly, the mind is always probing into areas where it shouldn't be, hearing about or getting involved in topics which are not good for it, and in this way it gets all agitated and disturbed. Because so long as one is in the material world, there will be so many things which are agitating to one. Because this material world is made like that. But topics of Krishna do not agitate one. They simply bring one to the platform of Krishna consciousness. They don't agitate one at all. They make one very happy. That's the difference. Topics of Krishna calm one down. Material topics agitate one. Even you go into various psychiatric treatments. Some of the psychiatric treatments are relaxation therapies. Mainly, most psychology is based on relaxation. Of course, there's some attempt to try to resolve problems. But that attempt basically means that you should just feel all right with being a rascal. But besides that justification, they make relaxation technique. So you're supposed to sit in a chair and then relax your foot completely, and then your other foot completely. Then your lower legs completely, and the upper leg completely. And then gradually relax every single muscle in the body and just let all the tension out, all the anxieties go, let it all go, just get it all out. And then when you're completely relaxed, you're sleeping like anything. And then you're supposed to wake up and be refreshed from the relaxation. And then you think, yeah. And then you go out into the world, and immediately there's and then one goes, oh, I have to get out of here, I'm relaxed, and there's all this and then one runs off to another place, and then there's and it goes to another place, and it's and pretty soon all the relaxation goes out the window, and he's also That's the nature of this world. And when you do this kind of so-called relaxation, so it just causes you trouble more when you get out. Because one can't handle the material world that way, in a relaxed way. If you go in relaxed like this, somebody just walks over your face. You have to be tougher than he is, otherwise it doesn't work. But when you come to the point of Krishna consciousness and you hear about Krishna and you chant about Krishna and you become very blissful in relation to Krishna's service, then you can go out into any situation in the material world and not be filled with agitation. Maybe some agitation will be there, but it rolls off one's back like water off the duck. Ducks, they're waterproof. So you pour water on the back of the duck, it just rolls right off. It doesn't stick, because ducks are waterproof. Similarly, with devotee, he's modes of nature proof. Modes of nature, they roll off. Of course, some effect is there. Just like if you pour hot water on the duck in the back of the duck, then the duck will feel it was hot, but the water won't stick. Similarly, devotee, you pour the modes of nature down his back, he'll feel the modes were there, but they won't stick. And by again chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, he can conquer over that and become purified again. Therefore, every day we come back to the temple and chant Hare Krishna together. We engage in chanting our rounds very carefully, and we know that by this continuous process, by continued purification, we'll be able to continue on this path of Krishna's service and gradually become more and more purified. It's a continuous process every day. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Nashtapaya Shabbatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhagavati Naishti. Every day hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, every day rendering service to the pure devotee of the Lord. Spiritual master. If you render service to the spiritual master or hear every day Srimad Bhagavatam, all that is inauspicious in the heart is destroyed to nil. Almost all. There is still that basic, what do you call that? Hard knot in the heart. Hard knot means a tight knot or cramp of material desire. It's just in there. And just like any knot, really tough knots, pulled tight by 10 elephants on either side, pulling that knot tight. You can't just with your fingers loosen this knot and get it loose again. It's not possible. Maybe you have to get like some spike and nail it through the knot, or something like this. But it's extremely, extremely, extremely difficult, even that way. And it's pulled so tight. And this knot in the heart is a huge thing. Just all knotted and knotted and knotted by some expert sailor. And then elephants came and made it as tight as it possibly could be. Therefore, it is such a mess. So entangling. And if you want to loosen it from here, and from there, and from there, it's like a can of worms. You don't know where one worm begins and the other worm ends. You can't figure out how this whole thing is working. How that, you can't even figure out how the contamination, how the entanglement got there. Therefore, always engaged in service. Nityam, always nicely hearing and chanting. One can always be in a very proper situation, because gradually that hard knot in the heart will just loosen naturally. It will just loosen. And one can even cut the ends of that knot by the mercy of the spiritual master. One can just cut this knot right out of the heart, which is basically the only way in which you can get rid of all these contaminations of the material existence. By cutting them out. Surgical operation. It's like the surgeon applies the knife to the cancer or tumor to take it away, because it is too difficult or not even possible to apply medicine and cure it. Similarly, the surgeon, the Krishna conscious surgeon, the spiritual master may take the knife and start to cut the unwanted things out of the heart. But sometimes that really hurts, and one becomes agitated by that pain. One doesn't want any pain, but sometimes he's just thrown on the floor. Cutting is going on. He has to be purified that way. Sometimes when one knows that this cutting is going on, he runs away. No, not my heart, no. I'm keeping all that dirt and crud and hard knots very nicely. I'm protecting them. Don't come near with that knife. Sometimes we've seen some disciples, when we take out the knife, they go, no, not me, no way, goodbye. They go somewhere else. As soon as the knife is there. And they think, oh, this is terrible. He wants to cut out all my material attachments. Sometimes our godbrothers or godsisters or other devotees help us do that too. Sometimes they help us by informing us that we're not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Surprise, surprise. Sometimes they help us by informing that we're not the Supreme Controller. And this hurts, because we're so much an illusion. If even somebody tries to make you do something in the morning, then one gets all, he says, no, gets all agitated. We have to learn actually toleration. Toleration is one of the most difficult things in the world to learn, because there are so many things which just agitate one all the time. Toleration is required in order to overcome the disturbing conditions of the material nature. Therefore, one who is always engaged in Krishna's service, he can always tolerate. And one who is not engaged in Krishna's service, he does not know what it means to tolerate. If one is acting for himself, then he does not even try to tolerate. If one is acting always for Krishna, then he knows the art of toleration. And he knows how to always be engaged in Krishna's pleasure. Toleration is a great virtue, a great accoutrement or characteristic. It is a very important quality, because by such toleration you can conquer over everything of the material nature. Krishna says, Tam Tatiksha Bharat. Just tolerate. Although there will be always this changing of the seasons from summer to winter. Of course, in some places it goes summer to winter to winter to winter to winter to winter to winter to fall to spring to winter to winter. But I think here we had some good dose of summer. No? Maybe? Not enough. Not for you now. You want more? No, but it won't work like that. Now it's already heading. It's already heading the other way. And soon it will get cold and colder and colder still. So you have to tolerate it. What can you do? You have no choice. You can't control the weather. Although man foolishly thinks he'll control the weather somewhere. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control the sun or the moon. You cannot control the earth. It will be the way it will be. And that's all there is to it. Therefore, we should learn the art of toleration. Whatever our situation, we should learn to tolerate all the disturbing conditions of this material world. And actually, that will help us the most. Toleration and enthusiasm. Not that we just tolerate things, but we don't do any service. We have to be enthusiastic too. We have to be tolerant and enthusiastic. That's a very good combination. So these things are good qualities which help us. And if we can understand the importance of hearing and chanting and remembering about Krishna, then we will actually be able to develop these good qualities which will help us conquer over the disturbing conditions of material nature, and this will keep us fixed and engaged in Krishna's service. And that is very nice. All right.